But that round, that conclusion to that fight made me so angry. And the fact that it went the distance in the first place and no one tried to get a little more aggressive towards the end, really, it irked me. And then the ruling and the one judge that somehow had it 118, 110, that was ridiculous because obviously he lost that fight.
Yeah.
And I know that looking on.
Yeah. And so for people who aren't...
okay, pause real quick.
Yeah.
So this is me as a non-fan of the sport. Now we're going to go to a fan of the sport. So you're going to hear some intelligence coming out.
Well, and I didn't watch the fight, so just probably the same amount of intelligence. Adelaide Bird is a judge for both boxing and MMA, and literally fans of either side and or, if you like both, have known she is a terrible judge for a long time. She pretty much got a provisional suspension a couple of years ago for having a bad decision, and it was like a slap on the wrist. And then now she comes back and does the second biggest money fight of the year, which this would have been the biggest fight in literally any other year besides the one where Conor fights Floyd. She gets a judging spot for this, and
how?
You see why everyone was so upset with her, like literally. On Twitter, so they announced the judges and the referee like 5 or 6 days ahead, like on the Monday or Tuesday of last week, and all the any like fight sport person that I follow on Twitter, they had some choice words to say. They were very upset, and they said, first off, from the judging standpoint, they said, if Triple G wants to win this fight, he needs to stop it, because Adelaide Bird, literally every single time she's on a Canelo card, she scores the fight for Canelo. And which, it's not too surprising given that Canelo's only lost once in his career. That was to Floyd Mayweather. But I believe, if I'm not so mistaken, let me just see if I can find this really quickly.
While Alex is looking that up, the Rockies have tied up the game in the top of the 8th against Hunter Strickland. Looks like Pereira doubled to right and Cargo scored. So the woes continue.
Yeah. I believe maybe she didn't score that fight. Stop. God, I hate when
I would like to know if everyone saw
that
this
was
coming.
CJ Ross.
If everyone saw this coming and why was she a judge?
So MMA fans, I like to complain about judging, and sometimes there can be very bad results in MMA. The MMA, God, that would have been bad. Like, to take one example, names you probably won't know if you're not a huge MMA fan, but Ross Pearson and Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez is kind of a cult legend for people who are fans of mixed martial artists. He was in the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. So he's been around in the UFC for, a decade. And Ross Pearson has been there for probably 6 or 7 years. And Diego Sanchez, he's not a guy who ever contended for a title, but he's been, a mid-level to upper mid-level guy most of his career. He fights pretty ferociously, and that's why he's kind of a fan favorite, because he's had some very hellacious battles, and he kind of just goes toe-to-toe with guys. So it's him versus Ross Pearson. Ross Pearson's a boxer from England, and he is more technical. And he just pieced up Diego Sanchez. He, literally every single round, people were wondering if one of the rounds was a 10-8 round, but everyone across the board, 30-27, all 3 rounds, definitely in favor for Ross Pearson. And when the scorecards came out, it was a split decision win for Diego Sanchez. And that, to me, was the worst judged MMA fight ever. But given that those fights where it's so egregious are few and far between. Boxing, literally every weekend, I feel like I hear someone going, what in the world was one of these judges doing? And sometimes when it's only one judge, it can be like, okay, well, thank God they're the one who saw that. For Adelaide Bird, she had 118 to 110 for Canelo.
Which was not close to any of the other judges.
It's not even close at all.
All the other judges had Triple G winning, right?
Well, so one judge had Triple G winning. I think either 118 to 114 or 117, 115. I have it on my thing here. Let's see. So, 115 to 113 Triple G. So that would be 7 rounds to 5 for Triple G. Adelaide Bird had a 118 to 110 for Canelo, which would have only given Triple G 2 rounds in the entire fight, which seems just crazy. And then the other judge had a draw. And some of the people who are more into it, I keep on talking about these, almost facetious people on Twitter, who I follow for these people for fight sports. Fight Ghost. If you want to learn anything about boxing and or mixed martial arts, Fight_Ghost on Twitter. He's the man. I love Fight Ghost. But he was more upset not about the Adelaide Bird card, because everyone knows like she's either just absolutely totally inept or corrupt. But he was upset about the judge who scored the fight a draw, which is Don Trella. That's not his full name. That is his full name. That's not his first name, Don Trella. His first name is Don. His last name is Trella. Although Don Trella is a beautiful name.
Alex has a new crush.
Yeah, Don Trella. Love ya. It's like Dontrell Willis, but the female version. He scored round 7 to Canelo, and a lot of people were saying round 7 was the clearest Triple G round. He gave round 7 to Canelo. The other 2 judges, even Adelaide Bird, had one of her 2 rounds as round 7 for Triple G. If he would have scored round 7 correctly with the rest of them, then Triple G would have won a majority decision. Boxing is, I don't want to necessarily put the corrupt stamp on it.
It's hard to deny the evidence.
But it's hard to deny the evidence.
With everyone saying, oh, it's going to be a trilogy. That's what my roommate was saying before the fight. He's like, this probably, the judging is going to be weird in this one.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants the trilogy, because everyone wants another $30 million fight. I think that's what it ended up grossing pay-per-view, was over 30 mil, which not a little bit of money. No. That's a lot of money, and boxing needs that money as they're fading, but this year has obviously been such a huge year. It's interesting to me that even like competitive, the most competitive thing you can do is 2 men punching each other.
Yes.
Because one person is saying, I'm going to be better than you because I'm stronger and I can punch harder.
Yeah.
And to turn something competitive around to money is sinful in my opinion. And as a non-viewer of the sport, I just started viewing this year, I could tell that fight was clearly Triple G in the limited knowledge that I have of it. And I just figured out how to score the dang thing.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is what keeps me from becoming a bigger fan of boxing, and I don't think I would ever become a bigger fan of boxing than mixed martial arts, just because I like the fact of mixed martial arts that there's so many different things that you can do. It can be a boxing match or a kickboxing or wrestling or jiu-jitsu, combination of everything. There's so much more strategy and stuff involved with that. Boxing, it's literally 2 hands. But I would be, boxing would be higher on my priority list as a sports fan if I had confidence that it wasn't so corrupt. I remember the very first time that I was literally stunned by a decision, and this is, again, mainly because of Twitter, was the very first Manny Pacquiao-Timothy Bradley fight. Everyone had Pacquiao winning like at least 8 rounds to 4 for Timothy Bradley. And Timothy Bradley won a split decision over Manny Pacquiao. And this is when Manny Pacquiao was at his height. This is before he fought Floyd Mayweather. This is when he was still, everyone was talking about how, like, it's 2 of the greatest fighters ever if we have Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. And that was almost the start of the downfall for Manny Pacquiao, whether it took away from his own belief in himself or just some of the aura that the fans had in watching a Manny Pacquiao fight. It was almost like, did you watch the Jeff Horn fight recently, Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn on ESPN?
Nope.
Well, most people had
heard about it.
Manny Pacquiao should have won that fight. I watched that fight. It was on ESPN, so I didn't have to buy it. I had Manny Pacquiao winning. Most people did. Jeff Horn won a split decision. It's just, boxing has shot itself in the foot so many times, and it's because the people in charge, like Bob Arum and God, what's his name? Eddie, the guy from England. If you know boxing, you know who I'm talking about.
I don't think most people care.
Yeah, but the guys who run boxing, one, they usually don't put together the best matchups possible, which in this case they did. And 2, it's just so obviously there's something screwy about it, whether it's just selecting judges they know favor certain things for their own fighters or they're literally corrupt. Every time boxing has a huge moment like they had this summer with 2 huge fights, there's always going to be some kind of controversy. And maybe they want that. Maybe the thing that makes people talk about it more.
And we're talking about it. So there's something. I don't think that there's been, in the last 15 years at least, 2 fights of this magnitude back-to-back where every single sports talk show of each day is talking about it. And here it is 3 days later, and we're still talking about it. So, I mean, that's saying something.
Yeah.
And that's good for the sport. I think they're making their paychecks and spread the wealth, baby.
And sorry.
If we're going to... Are you done talking about this?
No, well, there's just one thing I was going to bring up about future fights, because you did put that on the rundown.
Oh, yeah.
There was just announced this last week. There's going to be another title fight on ESPN, December 9th. Vasyl Lomachenko versus Guillermo Rigondeaux. Both of these guys are 2-time Olympic gold medalists. Both of them are champions. And this is besides Canelo, Triple G, this is the fight that people have been saying. They're in the same weight class. This is the ultimate fight to make. If you didn't think that Canelo Triple G was quite exciting enough, I will guarantee you that this fight is going to be extremely exciting. Lomachenko is a technician, unrivaled by anyone currently in boxing. He's 9-0 as a professional, but he won 2 gold medals, so he couldn't have gone pro before that because you have to be an amateur to be in the Olympics. And he's 490 something and 1 as an amateur. So it's insane that this fight is happening on ESPN December 9th.
You have to watch pay-per-view?
No pay-per-view for this.
All right, we're going to take one more break, and then we'll be back for a last quick segment, and then we're going to hit 2 hours.
Yeah.
Tonight's been a fun one, but here we go. Take a quick break right now. Eagles, take it away. That is Alex Klepper.
Woo.
I am Ben Fletcher.
That's right.
This is
The Clutch.
The Clutch. And